Hey everybody, it's Eric from the MMG. Welcome to our channel. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and make sure you look in the video description for our Discord. Join us, talk video gaming, board gaming, D&D, and much more. Today we were very lucky to get to go to Gencon and go to a 50th anniversary event that they held for D&D. We got a new copy of the brand new Player's Handbook, just called Player's Handbook 2024, not 6th edition or anything like that. Don't get crazy. They kind of mentioned that that was kind of the new approach they were going to take with it. They weren't going to release big new versions of sweeping changes. They were just going to go in and kind of revamp content. At least that's how I took it. We got to look at the... Well, we didn't get a look at it. We got a detailed description of the new Monsters Manual and lots of changes coming to it. And then also, they did the same thing for the Dungeons Master's Guide. They gave us a lot of cool info, and I'm very excited. Here's when the new content's dropping. And we also got to look at Project Sigil, which is their new Dungeon Master GM, kind of like Fantasy Grounds game that looks really cool. I was pretty impressed with what I saw. It's still in early stages. They're still doing testing, and free signups for the beta are here, and I'll include a link to that here very soon. But let's dive into this. Let's take a look first at the event. I'll do a brief overview of that. Then we're going to dive into the Player's Handbook. Probably that'll be the beefiest, and then I'll talk briefly about the Monsters Manual and the Dungeon Master's Guide. Let's get to it. So Wizards of the Coast knows how to throw a party. Look at the swag bag we got. It got this cool 50th anniversary D&D t-shirt. We got a very cool badge holder for your Gen Con badge. A nice bag. You got the field guide there to take your notes. You get the nice little mug, the cocktail mixer book there. It was a very nice little kit. And then don't forget they also threw in the Player's Handbook. And they had some really good appetizers. It said light appetizers on the invitation, and silly us, we ate before we went. We should not have. This was just the dessert. They had a full spread, though. Yeah, we won't make that mistake next time, because they really took care of us. All right, let's dive into this Player's Handbook. So, what they've done in this 2024 version is they have 48 subclasses now, 16 new / redesigned classes. They have character options now, including 75 feats. They now have 375 spells. 200 of them are new or redesigned. They now have new weapon mastery rules, new rules in the glossary, and new crafting rules. So lots of changes, lots of new additions, and lots of revamping. Let's take a look at some of the different chapters. One of my first and favorite ones is the very first chapter, playing the game now. Instead of creating your character first, it now tells you how to play D&D, which I think is very important for new players and even returning players, because the game has changed, drastically. Maybe if you played version 3 of D&D or version 4, and now we're up to the 5th edition, and the game has changed a little bit. So this new introduction is very, very awesome to have first. And then right after that, though, you do have your character creation and your character sheets. Speaking of the sheets, they've redesigned them and made them a little bit better, I think, in my opinion. It's a little more organized and easier for players to understand, I think. To be determined, the more of you, as we get a chance to play with them, my thoughts and opinions could turn out to be wrong. But I do like the new design, and I think it will help. All right, next up is Character Classes chapter. There has been 48 total subclasses now, 16 new or redesigned. And there's been a lot of talk around the cleric. I haven't got a chance to deep dive into it yet, but make sure you subscribe to our channel. We will deep dive into that and take a look. And same with all the other classes that have been redesigned, to see how they play, what the changes did, and how it's going to affect, potentially your favorite class, right? If you're a cleric player or something. But overall, I think from what they were telling us in the event today, it sounded like a lot of good changes. And I'm really excited to dive in and check them all out. Next up is Character Origins. This is going to be for building your character and its background. They've just added and revamped this. There's going to be a lot to read and dissect here, but I don't think there's going to be any negatives to these changes. All right, next chapter is on feats, and I love feats. It really helps you specialize and make your character your own, choosing and customizing, to how you want to play your character. And they've just added more to these and revamped them. So another good chapter here. That's going to be one that we have to dive into and kind of see all the change. All right, the next chapter is on equipment, and they've redesigned this and revamped it. I didn't see anything glaring that stuck out to me when I was scanning through it. We'll have to deep dive this and see if I missed anything. But this might be the chapter that was left the least changed. Alright, the next chapter is on spells, and there have been quite a bit of redesign and changes to the spell area. They were talking about some new spells taking concentration, and some that had it added to them. And there was a lot of talk about this kind of changing how magic works in a whole. Some spells that we never used before, they said, have got a little bit of a revamp, and you might start using them. So I'm excited to dive into this chapter and see what all the changes are. All right, and finally at the end we have the appendix, and there are a lot. I mean, I think we all live here in these books, right? This is where you gather and you learn most of the important stuff that happens in the D&D universe quickly, right? So Appendix A, though, is the multiverse, where it talks about the different areas in the world and kind of how they all lay out there with that neat little map, which I thought was really cool. Appendix B is your creature stat blocks. I think we all are there quite a bit. Appendix C is your rules glossary. We're obviously there trying to remember how to play the darn game, right? All right, next let's talk about the Dungeon Master's Guide, which is coming out later this year. Release time is currently set for November 12th of 2024. We didn't get to see this in person, but they talked about it quite a bit in detail. And the main gist of it was the highlights for this version is it's introducing Bastion rules, which sounded very cool to me. This is kind of like, think about it as like your own private side business in the game. So if your DM or your dungeon master says, hey, go take a day to go do what you want, you can go and work on your Bastion, which could be anything you really want. I mean, honestly, that your DM will allow. Like, you could run your own, gambling ring. You could be a creator of some kind of artwork and sell it and, become famous. You could, have a farm. I mean, you can do anything you want. I think this adds a lot of flavor to the game, and I'm really excited to learn more about it. The other thing it brings into is it's going to have the Greyhawk campaign setting, which is the original D&D, the first sold campaign. And it's, they talked about it quite a bit. I've never really looked into it. They said it was a great starting place for a dungeon master to build a world. So I'm excited to see that. It had a poster map, which is really cool. We got to see some screenshots of it. Some sample adventures, which I think is cool. I want to say it said 5 is what they told us. You'll get 5 sample adventures. I may be wrong on that number. But it's always good to have those there if you need them. A lore glossary, and then tracking sheets and maps in there. It sounded really cool. It's like they put a lot of work into it to make it more user friendly, more DM friendly, to help you build your world and cater it to your players the way that you want. Next up, they went in and gave us a sneak peek. We didn't get to actually see it, but a description and a lot of info around the Monsters Manual that's coming out in 2025. It's going to have 500 plus monsters in it. It's going to have more Apex monsters, which sounded kind of cool. More NPCs, expanded monster families, stat block improvements, monster treasure suggestions. I liked a lot of these features that they talked about. I do feel like it's kind of been missing in the previous monster manuals, and I do think it'll be a nice addition to helping you build your campaign. All right, and the final big discussion was on Project Sigil, which is it's going to be built into D&D Beyond, so you can go there to actually enter yourself into the beta. But it is going to be based off a subscription plan, if I understood it correctly, to get all the full features. They still said they were kind of working that out, I think, so that may be more to be determined. But it is going to be a way to play with people, and they want to cover as many platforms as possible. Right now, it's just on PC. It reminded me a lot of like Fantasy Grounds or some of the other tabletop simulator style games where you can throw like a dungeon and players in and roll dice together. I do want to see how integral it is with everything. They did say they wanted to make it accessible where if you wanted to roll your dice physically, you could, and then just input the number in, or you could roll it on the screen, different things like that. The graphics looked really cool. The actual world building looked really cool. Like I said, I definitely am going to sign up for this beta and check it out because it could really be an awesome way to play D&D. If you know and follow my channel, we do a lot of Fantasy Grounds on my channel. That's been my go-to tool. And I'm always looking for something that might be a little bit better. Now, Fantasy Grounds, probably the most sophisticated of all the tools out there, at least in my opinion. You know, this could, I don't know if it's going to be that sophisticated just from the first look at it, but if it can kind of blend that and maybe take away some of the complexity to make it easier to use and learn, then that might make it golden. So more to come on Project Sigil. Make sure you go to the website. I'll have the link in the video description below. Get yourself signed up. All right, that wraps it up for our coverage of the 50th anniversary D&D event at Gencon. Here's some pictures from the event. They had lots of cool vendors set up to show off some of the merchandise. Make sure you check it out. If you are able to make Gencon, hopefully you can see it all in person. If not, it will be at retail very soon if it's not already. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Thank you for checking out our videos, and have yourself a great day.